We got this 2001 Ford Escape here. It has a leaking water pump. As you can see, fluid has been leaking down. It's coming out of the gasket area here. There's quite a bit to remove. You got to drain the coolant, and we're going to want to go ahead and remove all these coolant lines and this belt and tensioner. But we went ahead and picked up the entire assembly. That's the Gates number there, water pump. Links will be in the description. You can replace just the half shell here, the top part, but I don't know where it's leaking from. It could be leaking from this plastic fitting. As you see, there's multiple fittings going into the housing. So it's held on by 3 bolts. First thing we want to do is get this coolant drained and get this belt off. We have the coolant draining into a suitable container. It's going to be on the passenger side. As you can see, the drain valve can be reached from the top or the bottom, but you will have to remove the lower splash shields so it doesn't get everywhere. Just going to let that all drain out. Make sure you have the reservoir here vented. And go ahead and pop this belt off now. And there's 2 different styles of water pumps. You got an auto tensioner one and a non-auto tensioner. This one here has a tensioner on it. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove all that. All right, so what we did so far is we took off the belt and tensioner here. It's an 8mm. Then there's 3 8mm bolts. If we look down here on the water pump housing and water pump, you've got 2 bolts right there. Then you got a bolt in there, and then that 3rd bolt there. So you take out 1, skip 1, 2, 3, and the entire water pump housing is now loose from the engine. So it's held in with a hose there, and a hose down below. The hose down below, we can disconnect here because we had an issue here before and we replaced this section. So we'll disconnect it with the hose on it. These other 2 hoses you're gonna have to work at to get out, taking out different things, and we'll show you which way we get it out. We got the water pump out. It wasn't too bad. Removing the throttle body will definitely help you. And here's the water pump. You see before we've replaced it to Dayco. The major problem is this hose down here was leaking, and it was leaking from up top here somewhere. This is the original Ford housing, but the Gates one, the aftermarket one, is an exact match. They match up pretty well. We're gonna put the top hoses back on, and we're gonna go to the auto parts store and see if we can find a lower hose here. All right, being that this Ford is so old, the coolant hose is discontinued. So this Gates one, 19199, so 19199, is the closest one we could find in our parts house. So what we'll end up doing is trimming it up top on the left there, and this hose is flexible enough to bend without kinking. So we're gonna trim it up and get it on the water pump and get everything fitted in. All right, we removed this lower radiator hose here too to get the water pump in easier. We got that Gates hose down there just sitting there. We did trim it. Here's the amount that we trimmed off, and it fit perfectly. You're gonna wanna have this hose already set up on here to go onto the thermostat housing, and then you can put this other hose that goes into the intake manifold area onto the water pump here. You can leave the water pump just a little bit loose and get that hose in there. Remember to set your clamps up in the arrangement so you can get some pliers on them or wherever you're using to open these clamps up. All right, we got the various hoses all hooked back up. New belt, new tensioner. Main thing you want to make sure is that this reservoir over here is full. Go inside, start the vehicle, turn the heat on high, and watch this go down and look for leaks, and continue running the engine until the fan comes on. Once the fan comes on or this coolant starts to come out the top, go ahead and cap that and shut the engine off. Let it cool off and recheck the coolant. All right, the engine is running. Just keep an eye out for some leaks and go ahead and just watch this reservoir and keep filling it up. The fans have cycled a few times. We washed the engine off. How you're gonna tell where your marker is, you keep filling coolant until it doesn't accept any more coolant in this uppermost hose. When that's done, you just keep checking for any leaks or anything. We have no leaks there, as you can see. Everything looks good. For a short drive while watching the temperature gauge and make sure it doesn't run hot. Okay, we just got back from a test drive. As you can see there, the temperature gauge is right in the middle where it's supposed to be. Now, during the test drive, the temperature gauge might rise towards hot. That's because there's a little bit of air pockets left in there. Just drive slowly with the heater on, and you should be good. Go outside and recheck and see if you have any leaks or anything. We have no leaks in there. Everything looks good. Check the reservoir. And as you can see, it's come down a little bit. So that's your cold range. We'll just turn the engine off, let it cool. Once the cooling goes below that range, we'll just bring it back up to that line right there, and then that's it, you're done. So, not too bad of a job. Almost 300,000 miles on the original housing. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.